Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to carry on looking at Magic 2013 and we're going to move on and look at Mob Rule, which is a red and green deck. So let's take a look at the deck list. So 21 creatures, 8 instants, 1 enchantment, 1 artifact, 5 sorceries and 24 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. So let's start looking at the deck. So the foil face rare and the red legendary for the set is Krenko Mob Boss, who is just super good. we're just gonna start off by saying Krenko is super good. So 2 and 2 red for 3/3. Just tap, no mana involvement at all. Put X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. So obviously combos with about a billion things. The first thing I can immediately think of is Intruder Alarm. Yeah, this is just super good. Like the fact that ability doesn't require any mana at all, which makes it very abusable. Can very quickly get out of control by just making a bunch of goblin tokens. Yeah, essentially, doubling the number you've got on the board every turn, which is, I think, pretty good. M13 doesn't have a huge number of goblins, but this deck is using, I think all that were available at the time. So yeah, this ability is, I think, usually gonna get, it's going to snowball out of control. Krenko gets a big target on his head. Yeah, really good. I would say probably the I would say probably the best out of the M13 legendary creatures. Definitely feels like the strongest compared to the other four. Who are all good in their own right, but I think Krenko is just on another level, just for sheer combo fuel potential. So yeah, really good start to have this as a foil face rare. But then what do you do with all those goblins apart from attack with them? You have an arms dealer, so 2 and a red for a 1/1. This is a really nice reprint from, I think, Mercadian Masks. So yeah, 2 and a red for a 1/1, which is not great stats, but you can pay 1 and a red, sacrifice a goblin. Arms dealer does 4 damage to target creature, so turns all your goblins into essentially what Flame Slash is 4 damage to a creature, isn't it? Except this is at instant speed and it can be done multiple times a turn. All you gotta do is sacrifice goblins. Krenko is churning out goblin tokens. So yeah, Arms Dealer is pretty good as well, I think. Goes really nicely with really a lot of stuff in the deck. And then we've got 3 Goblin Arsonists, 1 red mana for a 1/1. When it dies, it can have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So again, something that you don't mind kind of attacking with. It's going to block and die and do its damage, or you sacrifice it to Arms Dealer, and it's going to do a bunch of damage. Yeah, really like there's 3 of these in here. We have a single Goblin Battle Jester, so 3 in red for a 2/2. Whenever you cast a red spell, type creature can't block this turn. So this is okay. I suppose maybe a little expensive, just 4 mana for a 2/2. This ability is free, I suppose, but it does require you sinking quite a lot of mana into, I think, to get the benefit from it. It's okay. It's probably, I'd say, like out of the goblins in the deck, probably like the weakest one. And then we've got 2 Mog Flunkies. So this is a really unexpected reprint from Tempest Block. So 1 in a red for a 3/3. It can't attack or block alone, but you're pretty much always going to be attacking with multiple creatures in this deck because you're going to be making a bunch of goblins and just kind of swinging, being very aggressive. So yeah, this is sort of quite a minimal drawback, and just being a 3/3 for 2 mana is pretty solid. So then we have a single Rummaging Goblin, so 2 in a red for a 1/1. So this is interesting because this was, I think, Red's first foray into rummaging, and hence that's why it's called Rummaging after Rummaging Goblin. So blue has always had looting, which is draw and then discard, whereas Red's Rummage is discard and then draw. Just to give it a bit more flavour. Yeah, it's really interesting. This is the point in the game where red was starting to see more like card draw effects, which was pretty interesting, honestly. But we're still a little way off it getting what it normally gets this days, like the impulse draw, the exile from top of library. It's really interesting. At the time of recording, Good Morning Magic just did a video about red card draw. So yeah, fortuitous time to record, I think. But yeah, Rummaging Goblin I think is pretty good. I would have liked it to be 1 cheaper, like just 1 in a red, but maybe it would have been a little too good then. But yeah, it's perfectly fine. Helps you get rid of your cards that you're not going to be using, like probably excess land, honestly, in this deck, and hopefully draw into something a bit better. So that's done with the goblins now, so we're going to move on to the rest of the creatures. So we've got 2 dragon hatchlings, one a red for a 0/1 with flying, and it has fire breathing effect, so you can spend red to give it +1/+0 to end the turn. Yeah, I think this is perfectly fine. Not really much to say about it. I think it's okay. 2 furnace whelps, so 2 and 2 red for a 2/2 flyer, and it has fire breathing as well. So just slightly bigger dragon hatchling, I suppose. Fairly decent threat in the air, I suppose. The fact it flies and it's got fire breathing, which means it could potentially just kind of swing out of nowhere. If your opponent can't deal with it, it's going to just do a load of damage in the air, possibly if you sink all your mana into it. Single Torch Fiend, so quick reprint here from Innistrad. So just 1 and a red for a 2/1. Spend 1 red, sacrifice it, and destroy an artifact. This is fine. At the very least it's a 2/1 for 2, right? With no sort of drawback. The artifact destruction is at the time, like if we're talking the kind of time frame, like Innistrad is not a block with a lot of artifacts, going to Ravnica, which is not a block with a lot of artifacts. But if you're playing these intro packs against each other, this is a good answer to the rings that each deck have, I suppose. And then just a few generic big fatties here. So single blade tusk boar, 3 and a red for a 3/2 intimidate. Yep, okay, a nice, again, evasive creature. 2 fire elementals, just 3 and 2 red for a 5/4. The only of the classic elementals who has made it through beyond. Air elemental, I suppose. There we go. Never mind. Air elemental and fire elemental are holding down the fort for classic elementals. But yes, just 5/4 for 5. It's fine. And then 2 Reckless Brutes, 2 and a red for a 3/1 with haste. Has to attack every turn if able. It's fine, I suppose. It just feels obviously a little fragile with only 1 toughness. But it's okay as a common, I suppose. And then the only green creature, there's not a lot of green cards in this deck at all. Like the ratio is like really skewed towards red in this. It's 2 Flint Hoof Boars, so 1 and a green. For a 2/2 gets +1/+1 on Zoom Control and Mountain, so it could potentially be a 3/3 for any 2 mana, which is pretty solid. And you pay 1 red to give it haste until end of turn. Yeah, which is fine. You could see this as being what one a green and a red for a 3/3 with haste. I suppose you could see it as that if you wanted to do it that way. Because I'm not going to go on about haste. I always talk about haste, but like it is a keyword that only matters the turn you play it. I really wish it had been, I don't know, literally anything else, like I don't know, trample or menace or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, Flint Tooth Boar is fine, but probably the least impressive of all these kind of like. Actually, no, it can still be a 3/3 for 2 mana. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just getting hung up on it having haste. Stats wise, it's very solid. So the other end of the deck, I've just talked about haste, is Fervor. So 2 and a red enchantment. All your creatures have haste. This normally I would find this a little unimpressive. I'm not saying haste is like a bad keyword. I have to always defend the opinion here. Like I'm not saying haste is bad. It just annoys me that haste only matters for 1 turn, unlike flying or first strike or vigilance, which can have an impact, throughout the game. In this deck it goes okay though, because if you've got Krenko down and you make a bunch of goblin tokens, you can start immediately swinging them, which I think is pretty good. So I think Fervor's an okay rare to have in here, honestly. I do think there were better choices, but I think this is acceptable. So then we have 2 Krenko's Command, so 1 and a red. You just make 2 goblins, which is pretty cool. What I really like about this actually, so you had so this is Krenko's obviously kind of like signature spell. And then you had Talrand's one, which made 2 drakes, and I just think it's interesting that like Krenko's, they both make tokens, but Krenko's spell cares about the creature types that the tokens being made, whereas Talrand's cared about it being a sorcery making them. So then you got it's just interesting design. I really like it. Would have liked an extra one of these. I think maybe 3 instead of take out the battle jester and put in another one of these. I think. But it's fine. A single Cleaver Riot, so 4 on a red for a sorcery. Creatures you control get double strike until end turn, so like a big swingy pre-combat play to do here. I think it's the only time this has been printed, which I don't know if it feels overcosted. 5 mana at sorcery speed to give your whole board double strike. I'm not sure if that's overcosted or not. It feels pretty strong, depending how big your board is. Like if you got a bunch of goblins out and you give them all double strike, that can be pretty good. So yeah. I think it's okay. Single Trumpet Blast to go really nicely with all the goblins that you're making. Give all your attacking creatures +2/+0 to turn. This is pretty good, I think. And then a single Kindled Fury, 1 red mana to give a creature +1/+0 and gains first strike turn. So it loads times 4, but giving first strike at instant speed is always like a really solid combat trick. Works on attack and defense equally well. So yeah, pretty good little combat trick to have here. And then we've got some burn. So we've got a single Chandra's Fury, 4 and a red, does 4 damage to a player and 1 damage to each creature that they control. So instant speed, 5 mana. This is, I think, pretty good. Like 4 damage is obviously a pretty chunky amount. And then potentially kill off a load of weak creatures is pretty good. Yeah, so I like this. 2 Flames of the Firebrand, so 2 and a red, does 3 damage divided as you choose between up to 3 targets, which is pretty solid. It's just Arc Lightning, just with a sort of a flashier name. And then 2 Volcanic Geysers, X and 2 red is basically instant speed blaze. So yeah, these are all perfectly good, solid burn spells, I think. And then just again just really only 3 green spells. Like the ratio in this is really weird. This deck, like because what we've had is 5 green cards in the whole deck, so it's not really. Yeah, it's just a bit off. Anyway, so 2 Titanic Growths, 1 in the green, gives creature +4/+4 on turns. Yep, so pretty solid buff spell. A single Serpent's Gift, 2 in the green, gives a creature Death Touch turn. This feels very overcosted, like at 3 mana, just to give Death Touch. Not doing anything else. It's not increasing power toughness. It's not letting you draw a card. This feels very overcosted. Not saying it's wouldn't be useful, because obviously it can be good to if one of your little 1/1 token goblins gets blocked, you do this and potentially kill a bigger creature. Then yeah, it's worth it. But I know it still feels very expensive at 3 mana. And then a single Ring of Valkus, so this is the red M13 ring. 2 mana equipment, equip for 1, equip creature has haste, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equip creature if it's red. So my problem with this, and again, this is sort of my problem with haste. So haste only matters on the turn you play it. So the fact this has got a cheap equip cost is good, because then you can move it onto new creatures. They come in and they get haste. But the ring wants to stay on a single creature to keep giving it +1/+1 counters. But because of the keyword, you're incentivized to move it around. So I just feel like this is a little bit of a little bit at odds design wise. I suppose the ideal fix is to give first strike, but then like having first strike and then keep getting +1/+1 counters would be super strong. So I don't know. I don't know what the fix for Ring of Valkus is, but I hope you get what I mean there. It's kind of at odds with itself, really. And then single Evolving Wilds, 8 forests and 50 mountains. So yeah, there we go. So what could have been? So there's a few cards I think we could have had in here. I would like to see more green cards, definitely, because it is very heavily red. Like we've only got 5 green cards. I feel at that point just make it mono red. So instead of Fervor, I was thinking Firewing Phoenix instead. Like Fervor is good, like I said, but Firewing Phoenix is a big flashy creature. It's great. So 3 in a red for a 4/2 flyer. So it's another way of winning. You have something in the air, and you can spend 4 mana to return it from your graveyard to your hand. It's just like a really nice, simple design for a Phoenix, because up until now, like Phoenix cards had usually had some sort of like weird conditions to them, like I don't know, if you dealt non-combat damage to your opponent and it's in your graveyard, you can get it back. This is just pay mana, get it back. So yeah, I think that would have been like a fine inclusion to have. Wild Guess. I talked about obviously the Rummaging Goblin being the red card draw. It would have been nice to have at least one of these, I think, just to potentially. It's not. I was going to say it's card draw. It's not card advantage, because you technically you're spending 2 cards to get 2 cards, really. But it would have been, I think, nice to have at least one in this deck, I suppose. And actually, what I really would have liked to see, to go with the kind of theme of mob rule and a bunch of creatures, I would have loved to see a full playset of Timberpack Wolf. So 1 green 2/2. So it's a bear. So immediately better than like Runeclaw Bear. Gets +1/+1 for every other creature you control named Timberpack Wolf. So if you have 2, they're both 3/3s. If you have 3, they're all 4/4s. So yeah, that would have been, I think, really fun to have like a full playset of these. I think just would have been a really solid like turn 2 play maybe. Yeah, I think that would have been fun. Let's see. In summary, I think it's. I mean, Krenko is super good as a creature. I really like Krenko. As is weirdly the way actually in these M13, just in core sets in general. It's usually the red deck that has a tribal theme with goblins. Yeah, so it's always weird to see that. But yeah, I think this is okay. I say I would like to have seen a bit more green in it, I suppose. But yeah, I think in terms of like you got the goblins here, you got some nice synergies with those. I say Krenko is super good. You got effects that really benefit having a board full of goblins. You got some buff spells, you got some burn. It's just very it's just very solid. I think not my favorite M13. Pack. But it is pretty solid. I think it would be fine out of the box essentially. What are your thoughts on it after seeing it? If you've got any thoughts or stories or comments or opinions about this deck or any of the cards in it, stick a comment below. Always like reading those. But I'll be back next time. Go look at the last M13 intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.